Hey, what is up guys, Master here, back with another R22 video, and today I'm going to showcase a match between me playing as the Kane and my opponent playing as the Scrin. I'm going to sort of educate you guys a little bit on how this matchup works. I know a lot of people have issues dealing with shard shielded seeker tanks, and I'm going to showcase in this particular match what you should do. Now, the answer isn't simply going for scorpion tanks with dozer blades, though that is a decent choice as long as you don't get your units clumped up together. Nonetheless, scorpion tanks won't win the match for you. There are mechapeds and tripods to be concerned about, as well as potential storm rider transitions, though that's not going to affect Mok nearly as much as Black Hand, because their harvesters are stealth, so the storms can't just, you know, detect your harvesters and kill them. So nothing out of the ordinary in the start of this game so far. I've got 3 awakened. 2 of them I got from selling off my Hand of Nod and Shredder turret. Sometimes I like to keep my Hand of Nod around, but since I know my opponent is a Scrin, then there is no need to keep it. I would keep it if I'm against a Nod faction, just so I can power it back up online and build a rocket squad if I'm being rushed. Mok do have a slightly easier time in dealing with rushes though, because they have EMP. It's a 5-second ability, and it's available right out of the gate. You don't have to purchase any upgrades like GDI. And it's available to them instantly. And I'm going to be a nuisance. I'm just going to EMP these refineries. What you should do is always aim for the back of the refinery so you don't get the harvester as well as the refinery. The reason for this is the harvester will have to exit the refinery, and then to dock again it would have to go through that whole animation cycle. If you EMP the harvester in the ref, then the harvester will just resume the refining of that Tiberium when it gets finally un-EMP'd. I'm going to store the advanced gunwalker and go into the gas ball structure. It's going to be super annoying. It's going to force him to equip a buzzer to the gunwalker to de-garrison that. It's just going to also provide me with the ability later on to scout. It's going to sell a tier 2 here. A little bit of an overkill, but it's going to deal with these descents, and I need a swift response to them. Raider buggies, I'm going to have to make 2 or 3 to deal with those descents, and I'd rather spend this downtime in producing harvesters. You know, that's going to allow me to eco up and not fall behind. I'd rather waste no seconds on building harvesters. So to deal with this 1 spike disadvantage I have, I'm going to build a secret shrine before expanding. And for the secret shrine is for cybernetic legs, and that is just to benefit my saboteurs. I've also got a Tiberium trooper out on this map, but predominantly I made this for my saboteurs. There is a gunwalker there, which I was a little bit frustrated at seeing, but as well as saboteurs, I'm building attack bikes from my war factory, mostly to do a bit of harassment, maybe kill the harvester at the blue field. Having cybernetic legs around is also great, because then I can build a enlightened squad if I'm ever in need of killing a bunch of seekers. I can EMP a bunch of seekers and then kill them with the attack bikes. Fortunately, a harvester though there does get away. It is detected, but it doesn't appear like he noticed. So I've got these saboteurs. These are completely in the fog of war, so they won't be able to be detected. I'm gonna waypoint them around the side of the map and then capture those spikes. I can booby trap the spikes. It's a $100 ability, but I'd rather capture them so the support powers like the Swarm and Lightning Spike can't kill them, which he will probably do. Nevertheless, if he does waste $1,500 to kill a single saboteur, I can just build a Hand of Nod and build another one. That's a decent option for me too. Having these fast leg engineers is a great asset, and I'm making use of Kane's ability. See, I'm going to see a harvest. I'm going to take out one singular harvest. I've also built a shadow team as well, which I'm going to garrison in this structure. I'm going to transfer some harvesters over to this field. 2 harvesters falling there for the Scrim, but I do have still quite a big economic disadvantage, considering I invested so heavily into those units early on. Nevertheless, I got the shadow team going towards that spike just to defend it, because there may already be a portal queuing assimilators. I'm queuing through all factories at this point, predominantly for bike buggy. Bike buggy will allow me to gain some map presence and also secure the blue Tiberium field in the middle of this map. This is a pretty good thing to do as not, but I don't recommend spamming a lot of bike buggy. 20 units is all you need before transitioning into something else, because your opponent will already be trying to counter the bike buggy with seekers or tripods. A common response to Mark Kane in this matchup is a lot of shielded gunwalkers and shielded seekers, just because Mock don't have laser capacitor scorpion tanks and they can kill those scorpions as well as bike buggy. The shields can withstand an EMP. This Shadow team just for recon once again. I see some seekers there. Just gonna escort simulators to those spikes once again. I didn't booby trap them. Could have. And now I've got plentiful bike buggy. I don't feel like at this point I should be queuing much more of them. So any minute now I'm going to transition out of this. I'm going to start queuing scorpion tanks because I see there's seekers out. There's no tripods. So he didn't opt for tripods. If it were tripods, I'd continue building a bike buggy. But upon seeing these seekers and realizing that he's going for shards, it makes way more sense for scorpion tanks to be made at this point. I'm going to make it a little bit too late. I think I'm overspending on those units there, and I'm still unaware that there are seekers. I'm building beam cannons in anticipation of tripods, but yeah. Worst unit you can build against seekers are beam cannons, not recommended. I'm going to go for those scorpion tanks now, and with Triple War Factory I'm going to be able to produce those relatively quickly. I've got an emissary out. Those are discounted compared to before, only $1,300 to produce compared to what it was in vanilla, $1,500. It's going to allow you to squeeze one out. It's going to encourage players to build them more, and they're not too cheap, not too expensive. If they were too cheap, they would be used early on for scouting and for War Factory, Proxy War Factory cheese every game. We don't want to see that. My biggest concern is just people using them to scout and then sending them off for practically no risk. They would get a scouting squad for the cost of selling the outpost. So EMP is being used here, and I'm transitioning from bike buggy to scorpion tanks to enlightened. My thought process here was I'm going to build several enlightened and a few tip troopers. He's going to start spamming gunwalkers. He's not going to go devastators, or he may do, but there's a lot of bike buggy out on this map. Plenty AA. So my logic here is he's going to go into gunwalker spam, and that's going to prompt me to go into the scorpion tank. So I'm thinking it in a rock paper scissors sense. I'm looking at these enlightened so I don't get buzzer swarm there. I'm paying attention to them because I know the support power is ready to go. I'm going to split the enlightened so they don't all get killed by this buzzer swarm support power, and now my tip troopers can thin out those buzzers. A buzzer hive comes down, so this is going to be tricky for me to engage with all of these buzzers, not only from the buzzer hive but also the swarm power he summoned in. And this dozer blade upgrade has not yet been researched. I've been queuing lots of tanks whilst this has been happening, and since I got the bike buggy still alive, and since I'm keeping him in his base with slow units like the tripod, I'm going to be able to go for that blue field and secure it. I've also got EMP to support this army with. A lot of those units have already had the shields pinged off from the previous engagement, so there are one EMP from being locked down. Decent concave from me. A lot of scorpion tanks moving in. I'm going to EMP these trifles here. Phase comes down, so yeah, this again is going to force me to disengage just because there are so many units here. I've also got buggies mixed in, only 2 at this point, so yeah, a majority of my army of bike buggy did get thinned out in the end. And I'm not trading that well, but I do have one of the spikes of his that I was able to claim with my saboteurs. Phase tripod. phased gun seeker as well. And with just 2 tripods, I'm going to be able to kill them quite quickly, though I'm going to force myself back here because there's another reinforcing tripod. These spawn with the shields as well. That was teleported back. There is now a mastermind on this map. And a wall of buzzer hives. So infantry is a no-go for me. I'm on tier 1. He's on tier 3. He has an expansion. I have an expansion, but I've been harvesting less tip compared to him. And I'm just suiciding these tip troopers. A warp chasm comes down, as well as a bunch of reinforcing tripods. These scorpion tanks are no match for the tripods. And whilst this has been happening, I am thinking of my next move, which is going to involve beam cannons. And since I've got the triple war factory, again, it's going to make these transitions really fast. I'm going to be able to build 3 beam cannons in 10 seconds. So in half a minute, I'll have 9 beam cannons, which is what I'd consider to be the nominal amount for dealing decent damage to Scrin units. Any less than that, and it's just going to be too little damage. Unless you use the beam venom ability, which has more DPS, but they have less likelihood of combining all the time. Some harvesters rallying over that blue field. I'm going to correct those real quick. And here, my intention is to try and cancel the Eradicated Hexbot from being built, so I'm going to position these Venoms to utilize the ability. Sadly for me though, the Hex does come out, but I do see another target. And I stop the Venoms here, and I'm going to target this drone platform with my beam attack. And the drone ship goes down, like just like that. That play there, paying off. No stasis shield because he used it, remember, in that previous fight. So the beam cannons after the stasis shield makes a lot of sense. A lot of Scrim players lock down beam cannon strategies with the stasis. But without that to fear, you can deal with strategies like this. Also, beam cannons preps you for the planetary assault carriers that they may build as well. Eradicated Hexpod taking damage now. So much DPS coming down on that Hexpod, forcing out the phase. The recharge time on that is pretty quick. But I don't want to sit here and take this fight. At most, that tripod's going to kill me. I'm going to focus it down quickly with the beam cannons and get down. My tier 3 avatars will now be made too. This Hexpod's getting dangerously low on health. That can be killed while in EMP. The phase timer does not stop whilst in phase in R22. And that beam cannon venom ability you saw earlier also functions as you'd expect. If the unit goes outside the range of the venom, the beam will stop. That was fixed in R22. So you can no longer abuse and exploit that. What did beam venom get in return? Well, I restored the DPS. Originally it was 150. I nerfed it to 125, and I again put it back to 150 once the bug was addressed. But it still remains to be 125 for the beam cannon's regular attack, just because they have a fix whereby they combine mostly all the time. They have randomized pre-fire attacks, and that is what gives them the ability to survive and attack more than once without having the beams split up. So that's going to be GG on Atacama Road. That was a good demonstration of how you should play Kane versus Scrin. I think that was a decent game to showcase there. More of an educational one, and also showcase the power of the Kane abilities like the cybernetic legs, utilizing those saboteurs to great effect. Yes, guys, hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. And yeah, this is it from me, Masterly. Thank you again to my patrons for supporting me and my channel and my patch and keeping this game going. Your support has been fundamental to the success of this. Anyways, I'll see you all later. Peace out.